Welcome to the Fast Mode podcast series. I'm Tara Neil, and with me today is Rohit Batra, VP and GM, Manufacturing, Telecom, Media and Technology at ServiceNow. ServiceNow is a leading global software vendor headquartered in Santa Clara, California. The company's AI platform for business transformation connects people, processes, data, and devices to increase productivity and maximize business outcomes. Rohit joins us as part of our exclusive editorial segment on generative AI for network management. Welcome, Rohit. Great to have you on today's episode.
Thank you, Tara. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's start with the most happening topic right now, which is Gen AI. So how will the use of Gen AI in network management differ from its use in customer service and support? We have heard a lot about chatbots and stuff, but in network management, what difference does it make?
Yeah, I think first of all, when you look at agentic AI, it's very different than what traditional chatbots or virtual agents technologies have been able to deliver. The difference in agentic AI is the fact that it can reason and it can act. So I think it's more than just doing an engagement with a customer. The ability for it to be able to perform an action on the back end, understand how the action is performed, and respond and react to it is, I think, what makes this technology unique and different for us in the industry. Now, if you go back into how customer service and network management differ, customer service typically is single-threaded in a way. Like maybe customers can ask multiple questions, but it's still in a very structured way that you're a structured set of conversations and structured set of data sets that you're dealing with. You're dealing with CRM data, you're dealing with billing information, you're dealing with service-related information, what services do you want, and so on. When you look at network, however, it's extremely fragmented, first of all, especially in telecom. It's very layered. You've got your core network, you've got transmission, you've got radio network. You add to it the fact that the data sets could be, it's unstructured for that matter. And the issues can come at every part of the stack of the network. And I think so when we look at AI agents and what it can deliver in this environment, the efficiency gains that it can deliver is monumental. Because if you can get this technology right, and you're able to understand and workflow the network information, the ability to do service management, to understand configurations and being able to do diagnostics and repair workflows, to be able to do all of that, it takes away a lot of manual and tedious tasks that today take an exemplary amount of time. And so the value that this can drive in a network-centric engagement, I think is going to be pretty significant, much more than customer engagement from that point of view.
Now, to just clarify some terms to our audience, right? There's this Gen AI, which is just generative AI, generating the outputs. Then we have the agentic AI. So how do these two concepts differ?
Yeah, if you look at generative AI, it's a foundation of what agentic AI does. But generative AI is still, in a lot of senses, probabilistic. Like you're being able to ask a question and you're able to summarize an answer. When you summarize an answer, you can actually have it wrong, and humans can come in and correct it. Or for that matter, if I'm summarizing a particular case with all the information that's in there, I have the ability of changing that, or have the ability of maybe not being 100% accurate. When you look at agentic and you're now performing an action, it needs to be specifically addressed to that task. So it's a lot more deterministic in a way. Because now agentic AI is actually going to go and execute a task. It needs to know for certain that a task is the right thing to be done because of this issue that's been there. So while it's the foundation of how generative AI creates an output, agentic AI, I think, takes it to the next level when it's actually actioning on something, and actually to action it, it's making sure that it's more convinced that it's the right thing to be done.
And does that mean that it still uses generative AI outputs, but translates it into actions? Is
Exactly
that how
right.
the workflow works? Okay,
That's
that's how the
exactly
workflow.
right. That's
All right.
exactly right.
Okay. And so the machine decides if the outputs of Gen AI are correct, and then uses them.
That's right. So I think
Okay.
foundationally getting generative AI right is going to be important, but then agentic AI takes it to the next level, supercharges that by taking the workflow construct in there and then automating that workflow and delivering it from the background.
So if someone says we have got really great Gen AI models, right, for network management, but they don't have the agentic AI capabilities. So in that scenario, how much work do you need to put in to bring that agentic part to the existing generative part?
Yeah,
Is
so
that
if
a
you think
lot more work?
Yeah, because So the way I think about this is that you've got data, you've got workflows, and then you've got AI sitting on top. To get anything going foundationally, you should have access to the data. That's fundamentally important, right? And then you need to have workflows, and then the AI runs on top. Now, generative AI takes access to the data and summarizes it and gives you particular ways to actually generate some output. But if you really are trying to automate the workflows and being able to reduce that mundane activities and tasks and make your human agents more productive and more efficient, you want to be able to get to the workflows and being able to automate that. That's when Agentic AI steps in. So I think foundationally for a customer to be able to get the outcomes that they achieve with Agentic AI, they need to have the data layer, have access to the data, whether it's internal or access to an external set of data sets, but have the workflows in there where they can know that how the business processes are going to be executed, and then drive the outcome by Agentic AI and drive the efficiencies to make the humans more productive and focus on the complex scenarios and use cases.
So introducing agentic AI would mean that there's a lot more integration work because you have to connect to so many more systems.
Yes, to some extent. Like if you look at ServiceNow and the platform that we've built, like for us, we are in a lot of ways we work across different applications already. The workflow will span a business process, and the business process will interact with multiple different systems of record. Whether that's accessing the billing system in the case of telecommunications, accessing ERP and supply chain and logistics information, accessing information like network performance information. Like we already integrate all of those workflows today. But those workflows are typically being constructed so that it can be executed by a trigger. Now, what Agentic AI does is that takes that and puts it on steroids because the workflow already exists. And that's the value, I think, from ServiceNow that customers can get because we are already the system of workflow for our customers, whether that we're doing for delivering orders, delivering customer service requests, CPQ use cases, service management use cases. We are already delivering that for our customers. And then Agentic AI on top helps us accelerate that and provide the efficiency that the promise of AI and generative AI can deliver to our customers.
Interesting. So what makes CSPs particularly well positioned to deploy and leverage GenAI and Agentic AI?
I think if you look at the value of the business value this can drive, I think it's pretty significant. Because when I mentioned about data, workflow, AI,
Yep.
all CSPs have access to tons of data. It's network data, it's customer service information, it's information about customer engagements and interaction. You have access to all of these systems, but today those systems don't often talk to each other. That data sets don't talk to each other, and sometimes that becomes a pretty significant investment. The value that CSPs can do with this technology is the fact that unleash or unlock that data and to provide the outcomes that the business really wants to achieve. Drive customers to be able to be more sticky with them, drive experiences that the customers are going to be able to continue the service with the customer, obviously drive opportunities for more revenue and growth by selling more to the customers for the right opportunities that they may have. I think that's the difference with CSPs is the ability to be able to harness all of that data within an ecosystem and those workflows that are already predefined, and then being able to deliver that through an AI technology.
Awesome. So zooming into ServiceNow, right? Can you share details of your partnership with NVIDIA and how it's accelerating GenAI adoption for telcos?
Look, NVIDIA, there's no doubt about the fact that they are in a cutting edge and bleeding edge of technology when it comes to this space. So we've partnered with NVIDIA right from the onset. They've been the technology partner for us when it comes to AI and generative AI. And using the ServiceNow platform, we've then leveraging those technologies to be able to deliver focused use cases for our customers in telecommunications. Whether that's looking at service test diagnostics and repair, that's looking at use cases like customer service and service management domain, or providing customers the ability to avoid bill shocks, or avoid the manual intervention that happens when bill shock happens to customers. Those are the use cases that we are building, but it's all powered by the NVIDIA technology on the back end. It's the foundation of where we are building our generative AI and agentic AI use cases to cater to the telecommunications industry.
And what would you say are the biggest synergies in partnering with NVIDIA?
I think the fact that we both look at the world in the same way. It's the technology at the very bottom, which is basically powering the access to the data and the processing of the data. It's the workflows that sit on top, which is where ServiceNow plays a big role, and the AI, which is really where NVIDIA provides the foundation, and then ServiceNow provides the industry knowledge and domain knowledge use cases adapted for that specific scenario. I think that ability, that partnership is so synergetic between us and NVIDIA that collectively together, we do think that that's going to be a unique differentiation in the market that we can deliver for the telecommunications vertical.
Well, amazing. Building on that, do you have any real-world customer success stories that highlight the impact of GenAI and maybe more recently Agentic AI in network management?
Well, we've got several customers that are using us for generative AI today. So, for example, we've got customers in Europe that actually are using us for things like improving employee efficiencies and agent efficiencies by taking data that already exists in the ServiceNow platform, being able to summarize it and make sure that it's easily handed off to the agents. Make sure that agent-to-agent interaction is more efficient, so that when a separate agent, a human agent, comes on board, they know exactly where the previous agent left off. Those things take several hours, and we can condense that significantly. We've got several of our customers that are using us today. Agentic AI is new in the transformation, in the true world of Agentic AI. So again, we've got customers in initial pilot stages right now, but across the board, across industries, we've got hundreds of customers that are using us today for the generative AI use cases, and we've seen real business value and real outcomes that we were able to provide with the technology that we have in the platform.
And talking about, the layers that you just explained, data, then workflows, and then the Gen AI bit. Okay, who takes care of the data quality? Do you guys go in and make sure that, the data that telcos provide is of quality so that you get the right training for your models?
So there's two levels to the data. One is the actual training of the models, and the other one that I was referring to data is the ability to access data when I'm executing a workflow. So let's take an example of a telecommunication provider. There's data that exists in ServiceNow because we do processing of, let's assume, a network change. We have information about what the network change was executed. We have information about tickets and incidents that happen on the network. We manage that today for our customers. We also manage customer information. We have case level information. So that information resides in ServiceNow. That information is accessible for our workflows to be able to execute on top. But we fully recognize that ServiceNow is not the only platform in a CSP's environment. They have investments that they've done in data warehouse platforms, could be in Databricks, could be in Snowflake, could be in GCP platforms, wherever they might exist. To be able to execute this workflow, you need to have access to that data set, which may not be in ServiceNow. And the strategy that we have around being able to execute the workflow has now expanded in the past year, where we've now been able to access data at rest, which we call a zero copy access to data. So if the data exists in a data warehouse system, like Databricks or Snowflake, we can actually run a workflow that may be executed from ServiceNow, taking data from ServiceNow, but then combining it with data from these data warehouse applications to be able to execute the right workflow for the right outcome. And I think that's the ability of the platform and being a workflow engine that makes us differentiated in the market and continues to drive a lot of customer interest and demand for us.
And between one CSP to another CSP, do you see that the same models, the same GenAI models working, or does it require a lot of fine tuning based on the data of that CSP?
Look, I think the discussion on models is something that I personally believe will at some point in time will be less relevant, because models are going to continue to evolve. If they continue to improve, they're going to evolve, and being able to get ahead of the curve and being able to keep track of these model evolution is going to be very hard. I think the focus that CSPs need to have is on the workflow, is on the business process, is what makes them unique. And I don't think the LLM models is going to make a customer unique. It's going to make a CSP unique at what it delivers. Because at the end of it, the core of it, the LLMs are going to continue to learn and get better. I think the focus that CSPs need to do is to continue to drive better customer experience to their customer, better value to their customers, and then being able to do it in a most efficient manner. And that's through workflows. And I think that's really the focus that we are trying to drive, rather than moving away from this conversation of which LLM is going to be more progressive in the market today, because that's all going to change and evolve as we go.
Okay. And do you see a lot more deployments in the pipipeline in this year
Significantly.
and next year?
I think it's almost impossible to have a conversation with a CSP today without talking about generative AI and agentic AI. It is a boardroom level conversation. And I think, to me personally, this is what's really pivoted by what's happened with ChatGPT a couple of years ago now in generative AI, is that it's made AI accessible. Like we've been talking about AI, especially in telecom, for the longest period of time.
Yep.
This ability to be able to get data and have access to data is not new. CSPs had always had access to tons of data. But when you talked about AI, it almost became in the past was a very scientific exercise. It was a theoretical exercise. Like, people didn't know how to actually make it work, or you needed very deep data scientists and data engineers that could actually make it work, which were very hard to get. But when generative AI came to the foray, I think the most significant change was it became accessible. AI became a conversation that CEOs and CIOs and CXOs could understand, and they could relate to it because they had their 13-year-old child who could actually do an entire homework based on ChatGPT and generative AI. And I think that's where it made the difference. And so now generative AI becomes so easily transferable that it's a boardroom conversation. It's a conversation for every CEO, I believe, in the market today, trying to look at strategically what they're doing with this and using this technology to innovate faster and to deliver better value to the customers in the most possible way.
And do you see any challenges in doing this? Especially at the beginning?
I mean, look, technologies are continuing to evolve. Customers, I think the one thing with this is the fact that as an industry, we're learning more and more about this technology and what it can do and where we want to draw boundaries and where we want it to get unleashed collectively. I think the one thing that this change in generative AI has happened is the fact that customers are willing to share experiences because collectively as an industry we are learning. It's not an isolated exercise, and I think if people try to do this isolated in a way of their own, it will take them longer to actually outcome. Instead, if we start sharing and collaborating with each other, and this is why the partnership with NVIDIA, going back to that, is so critical for us, is because between the two of us, we're constantly trying to learn and adapt, and with our customers. And getting that together, I think, will make sure that this technology evolves in the right way, make sure that the customers are actually sharing information so we can continue to deliver the best possible, most innovation. And then the customers can continue to differentiate on the experiences that they deliver to the customers. And I think that's going to be the secret sauce.
Well, amazing. I think, we had some brilliant insights into this topic. So thank you, Rohit, for joining us in this session and, for sharing all the insights, especially ServiceNow's offerings in this space.
Thank you so much, Tara, for the time. I appreciate the conversation.
Great. And to everyone tuning in, thank you for listening. If you guys want to learn more, visit www.servicenow.com and follow us for more updates and insights as we continue to uncover the latest in technology and telecommunications. See you in our next session. Bye-bye.